Hi, welcome to the latest episode of NAMI New York State Perspectives, your show to keep you connected, supported, and inspired as we navigate the COVID-19 crisis. And on today's show, we're definitely going to have you inspired. We have a very special guest with me, one of the most unique and remarkable people I've ever met, someone who is just inspiration and hope is just personified in this man, and we're so glad to have him with us. We have LaShawn Suga Ray Marston. How are you this morning, LaShawn?
I'm good, man. I'm good to be on the show with you.
Oh, dude, it's always good to see you. I wish we were actually together, but you know, it's always good to see you. So, first for people who don't know, LaShawn and I first met each other in September. He's part of the community at Queensbridge down in Queens, which is being impacted very hard right now. For people who don't
Definitely.
know, Queensbridge is the largest public housing facility in the country, right? That's what they
Yep.
tell me? That's
Yep.
right. So, first of all, tell the people, it's not Suga Ray, like sugar or like the box of Sugar Ray. It's SUGA. Tell the people what that stands for first.
So Suga Ray is an acronym, right? S is for smooth, U is for understanding. The G is actually interchangeable. The G is for gentleman, gangster, guru, God, and the A is always a ray of light from the sun. And so Suga Ray, the name, is literally a personification of who I am, right?
Mhm.
My mission in life is to bring light and to bring life into every spot that I enter. So wherever I'm at, I want to make it more radiant. I want to make it more vibrant. I want to, make people feel more alive, like the rays from the sun do, right? For the plants, for us, so that's my mission. And so Suga Ray, it started because I used to like Sugar Ray Robinson, and I used to fight a lot as youth. But as I got older and as my nickname went from Ray Ray, and now I wasn't a child anymore and I wasn't that same person anymore. I wanted to, name myself, give myself a name that really reflected who I was. And I love Ray Robinson, I love Ray Leonard, and people already calling me Sugar because I fought a lot. So I just combined the Sugar Ray and I was like, this is exactly who I am.
It's fantastic. And that's such a perfect encapsulation of what you really are, because your ability to bring light into some of the darkest places and some of the darkest situations imaginable just amazes me. I mean, from the second I met you, you knew there was something different about you, that there was something special about you, that you really are like a ray of like goodness, and I'm wearing your shirt right now, Together We Heal, which part of your
Nice.
message, Together We Heal, Together We Rise. It's so
Yeah.
important. Like whenever I go out of the house now, I wear the sweatshirt. I feel like that message is taken on a whole different connotation. Obviously, you meant
It
it for
has.
your community, but now it's all of us are coming together to heal. So, as I said, you are such a positive ray of light in a lot of places that need that light, like Queensbridge right now, which is getting impacted disproportionately by what's going on. So, can you give us a little bit of insight on what's going on in the Queensbridge community right now?
Yeah, man. Well, like everywhere, I think in America in the last 5 weeks, 22.6 million people have filed for unemployment, right? And that's just the people who have filed, not the people who are not able to get in, all right? Because there are still tons of people who are not even able to get in to file for unemployment because the phone lines are busy, the internet system is overworked, all right? And so a lot of people are out of work in Queensbridge, while simultaneously, however, there are a lot of people from Queensbridge who are essential workers. They do drive the buses, the trains, they are the nurses, right? They are the physicians, they are the people in the hospitals doing the work. They are the people at certain institutions doing the work. So Queensbridge is NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. There are a lot of people from Queensbridge who work NYCHA, right? Who have to still keep the grounds clean, who are doing the sanitizing and taking out the trash. So it's a mixture of, overwhelmingly people are unemployed, but there are, however, a lot of people from Queensbridge in Queensbridge who are doing really good work, really necessary work at these times, right? There are people from Queensbridge who work in the mental health field, social work field. So they're getting a lot of calls, they're getting a lot of work. But overwhelmingly, the energy in Queensbridge is one of people are sad. I think in 3 weeks, we lost like 15, 16 people from Queensbridge. People have died that I knew personally. And that hurt. And that's something that, you know, people die every day. And, you know, we've lost a lot of people from Queensbridge to cancer, you know, to heart disease, you know, to you know, gunshots, to violence, but never in this way, so sudden, right? So many, like, it was just so sudden, like every day somebody was dying, and it was just overwhelming, you know. And the part that made it obviously more difficult was that the way people have become accustomed to grieving and to mourning, you know, being with their families, you know, the actual funeral, they weren't able to do that, you know. So that's what made it even more, like, it made the energy thicker, because now people are not only sad and angry at the fact that their loved one died, they're now even angry now that they can't mourn the way they normally mourn, right? They're not able to go outside, they're not able to go to the party, they're not able to do all of that stuff that they do to, you know, to help them cope. And so, so that's, you know, that's pretty much what's been happening in Queensbridge. There have been a couple of organizations that has, you know, I guess, done mutual aid, you know, provided food. There's a couple of pantries that's providing daily meals. The Jacob Reese Community Center, I think, is doing food a couple of times a week. You know, they've had to obviously redo their whole structure because they have a senior program where every day the seniors come in for breakfast and games and stuff like that. But they've had to, you know, restructure that and now make deliveries, you know, to the seniors. So it's been, it's definitely been inspiring in Queensbridge, the people who have come out. I think Queensbridge made the front page of the Daily News a couple of days ago. Yeah, on one of the papers, we were on the front page because there were some people, again, who were, you know, going door to door delivering food for the people who they knew needed. Yesterday, I personally gave out, you know, I had, you know, working with the Justice for All Coalition and Brother Stan Moss, who's the lead organizer there. He connected me to some artists, you know, to some artists in Queensbridge. I mean, well, not in Queensbridge, but in the Long Island City area. And they were making masks, and they donated masks to us, you know, donated.
Right. So I just brought the picture up right now. I don't know if you can see it on the screen of you giving out the masks. So you talk about what that experience was like. You said you gave out over 100 masks yesterday?
Yeah, man, that was, so I'm a person, right? Like, public service, community service is in my blood. I've been doing it. Like, I started with my grandfather when I was like 5, 6 years old in South Jamaica, Queens, giving out turkeys and clothes and stuff like that. So it's what I do. And I've given out tons of things at times when it was like it ran out and, you know, people had to be turned away. And, you know, it always felt bad. But yesterday, turning people away because, you know, we gave out 100 masks in 30 minutes and there was still a lot of people that needed masks. And then there were people coming up after, yo, I heard you got a mask up here. And what made yesterday's experience more emotional for me was, it's different than, you know, somebody, you know, you're giving out food or toys and it not being enough, and somebody, you know, knowing they can still go get food over there, knowing they can still go get a toy over there. When you ran out of masks, people are afraid because yesterday I've seen, it was 60 degrees yesterday, right? And people were using their winter scarves as masks. You know, they had the winter scarves wrapped around their face. And it was extremely saddening. You know, I felt a little inadequate that I wasn't able to provide everyone with a mask. But that was, you know, it was a feeling that was, you know, that's my personal thing with myself. Like, I never want to feel like I'm not doing enough in those situations. So yesterday I did a little bit, but, you know, I spoke to a couple of people. They're going to make more masks, and we got some, you know, somebody sending masks from Paris to us in Queensbridge.
Wow.
So Queensbridge has been a place where you've seen the unity personified. Like, there are a lot of Asian people who live in Queensbridge, you know, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, you know, there are a lot of, you know, Bangladesh people who live in Queensbridge. And to see how so many people have become unified is extremely powerful. What's funny though, simultaneously, separately from yesterday giving out the mask, there are a lot of residents in Queensbridge who are preparing for a rent strike, right? Like, people are active. Like, I've seen people who I've never seen active become active during this time. You know, active in building community, active in holding government accountable. So again, it's been inspiring, and I'm just grateful to be part of the service in that way.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. And what I think, what I respect most about you, or really admire most about you, is you have this uncanny ability to, like I said, bring light into dark places, but to persevere. I mean, you've in your life experienced tragedy that I certainly can't understand. I mean, we've compared stories. There are, you know, some similarities. We both lost our dad at a young age. You know, my family had financial hardship at one point. We were almost homeless. You know, we lost a sibling this year. But you know, you've been through much more than I have. But you have this way of persevering, and I think these challenges have made you stronger and more of a light. So can you talk about how you've dealt with tragedy and challenges and how you keep going and keep being this beacon of hope that you are?
Well, the greatest, you know, the first greatest tragedy that I experienced was when I was 11 years old and my dad passed away. You know, my dad was my best friend. You know, he was a dad where, you know, we take trips together. You know, we pack up a station wagon and we drive. You know, we drive to Canada, we drive to other cities, other states. You know, we go skiing, we go movies. You know, we go to Sizzler. We love to go eat. And his passing, it was sudden. I didn't even know he was sick, right? So that made it even worse. So that was the greatest tragedy. And at that point, you know, I had no real concept, you know, no conscious concept of life and death. So I was just hurt. I was hurt. You know, I became depressed. I started, you know, hanging in the streets, started smoking weed, started drinking at that young age. And but from that tragedy, right, and then 3 years later, my older sister passed away, right? So my teenage years was filled with pain and grief and sorrow and depression and suicidal ideations and all of that stuff. But what happened, or what was happening in my mind, I was always asking why. I was always asking, why is this happening? I was always asking, like trying to find out, like what does death mean? Like what happens when the spirit leaves the body, right? Because I hear, oh, you know, your loved one is in a better place there with God. That never makes sense to me, because I really like, okay, that's a blanket statement, right? Like, with God, where is God? Oh, God is everywhere. So just my brain always working to try to make sense of it, right? And so now, 25 years later, from my dad passing in '95 to 2020, I know that everything that happens is for the full progression of the whole universe, right? Everything that happens is to move life and earth and humanity forward, even the tragedies, even the terrible things that happen, because time is only forward progress. Time does not go backwards, right? And so we are time manifested, right? Time and space manifested into human form is what we are as people, as human. And so I know that it's all good ultimately, you know, and it's okay to feel the pain, it's okay to feel the hurt. However, energy is neither created nor destroyed, right? Transferred and transformed. That's basic physics. That's, you know, thermodynamics, right? And so the life or the lives, the physical lives that have been lost, it hasn't actually been lost, right? It's life just transitions. And so I know that in terms of people who I know who passed away, is like they're now inside of me. So literally they fuel me. Like their essence becomes like my breath, my blood, right? They literally flow through my body. And so that's my approach to tragedy is like, it's so good, man. Like the most cliche saying I've ever heard, which I grew up not liking cliches, but now I understand some of them, is what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
It's so true, and in this situation, it's so true, and you know, you have tapped into this ability to persevere and to find strength in challenges. But you know, I know you're trying to instill that in others too. You know, not just the people in your community, of course, but you know, you have two little ones. You have a little boy, a little girl. You do so much for them. I see you on Facebook. You know, I know you wrote the book for your little girl, for Usha. It is beautiful. I mean, so can you talk about that a little bit? How you try to spread this positivity and spread hope, both in your community and in your children, because I'm sure they're struggling right now. I mean, how old are they again?
My son is 7 and my daughter is 3.
Right. So obviously, the 7-year-old probably have a little more concept of what's going on, and I know, you know, not only right now, like most parents, you're wearing a lot of hats right now. You know, babysitter, teacher. I know you've been a karate instructor because he hasn't been able to go to his karate classes. But
Mm-hmm.
can you talk about that? How you spread your goodness and your light around, both in your community and with your kids?
So ultimately, again, it's just about, like living your truth, right? Living your truth. And so, for example, like one of my friends, one of my childhood friends, we've been friends for damn near 30 years. His mother died in his arms in his apartment, right? In their apartment, his mother died in his arms, right? And what was so powerful about that when I got to speak to him, the day after, is that he gave me a little bit of credit for, sharing openly the stuff that I've been through. Because he said that when she took her last breath and he saw her eyes roll to the back of her head, he was like, oh, snap. But his mind instantly went to, it's all for the better. It's all good. His mind didn't go to, oh my God, why did my mom pass? Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. His mind went to, damn, I lost my mom, but it's all good. I'm gonna be greater now, right? And so, like, that is an example of like just living your truth and sharing honestly and openly, being vulnerable. And everyone's not gonna pick it up, but those who do are those who do. And so that's, and again, especially during this time, is just to, again, spiritual optimism and to radiate, right? It's radiate love. And that's what I do, whether I'm on social media, whether I'm on a phone call with someone, or whether I'm walking in the streets. Like yesterday, a lot of people are afraid, a lot of people this. I'm like, yo, it's all good, man. Like, be positive, stay focused. As I'm giving the mask out, I'm smiling and I'm speaking love, and hope and truth. Like, yo, like we got to come together. Like, as bad as it is opportunity, right? It's always opportunity and tragedy, opportunity to connect, opportunity to grow, opportunity to rise exists at all times. Is, can you see it? Can you be stronger than your emotion, to realize what's happening, feel it, but let it fuel you to do something about it and not just get sad, right? Like when we're sad, we go in a corner and we cry. But when we get sad and then we become angry, we go in a corner, cry, we come out like, nah, I'm not settling for this. It got to be something more. It got to be something better. I got to figure this thing out. And so that's my truth, and that's what I radiate, again, in my walk and also in my words. As far as my children, there were a couple of weeks, man, when my daughter was extremely emotional, where she refused to go outside to the park, because she said the germs are out there, and she also had felt the sadness of the world. She said, I feel so sad because the world is sad and I don't know why, right? She's spiritually in tuned, right? Like most children born in the last couple of years are, right? Like, so my son, his sadness was, he's a little older, so he was used to, going to the park, playing with friends, and, going to martial arts on Saturdays. He looked at his calendar, one day. I was like, it's Saturday, I'm supposed to have martial arts, but I can't, it's canceled. He was a little sad. So I was like, you know what? I need to push, I need to step up, right? And as a dad, I need to still be able to engage my son in his martial arts. And I actually need to learn it myself, right? And so, I reached out to his seafood, and he sent over some, some detailed instruction on what they were doing, and, a step-by-step guide. And we follow that now. And then I also institute some of my own ways, like I'm teaching him meditation, like we're doing breathing exercises, right? Because the goal is always, and it should always be, to make your children greater than you, right? And so I tell him, I said, at 36 years old, I still struggle sometimes with, when I get frustrated, remembering to breathe. I still forget. I get so caught up in the emotion at times, and I forget. And I'm telling him that at 7, if you can get this down in the next 3 years, by the time you're 10, you will be so powerful, right? You'll be so powerful. You'll be able to help so many people. And so, it's a process, it's a journey. The greatest example of that working is, I think on Friday, he was really frustrated about something, and we went into a 5-minute meditation. I set the alarm, and when the alarm went off, I asked him how he felt, and he said, I need to meditate a little more to feel better. And so he did 3 more minutes, and then when the alarm went off for 3 more minutes, I said, how do you feel now? He said, better, and he was ready to do his work.
That's awesome, and such a good lesson, and it's amazing. So many people are waking up to this type of stuff, meditation and other things you can be doing, and as you said before, I think people are waking up to a lot of stuff right now. This is kind of a very transformative moment, and it's up to people like you and me who care about our communities and care about each other to lift each other up. Right, together we rise, together we heal. and make the most of this transformative opportunity and make sure we use it for good. And like you said, your community is waking up that it needs to take better care of itself. You know, you and I have talked about this, where with all the problems that go on in the community, sometimes the community turns on each other, right?
Yep.
And that's why we, you know, got to make sure we come together, not go drip. We're apart enough as is right now, right? We need this. We need to come together so much, and this is gonna be a team effort, and it's something that you and I have been working on. You know, NAMI wants to come in. We were all this week actually. We were supposed to kick off our you know, introduction of our programs and stuff into the Queensbridge community. We have been working on this. We were going to do it last week of April, right before May Mental Health Awareness Month. But why, in your opinion, is it so important that we bring mental health awareness and services and supports into Queensbridge?
I mean, the same reason it's important to bring it everywhere, right?
Right.
There are a lot of people who have been going through it. You know, Queensbridge is, you know, I think, so in my 36 years that I could count, maybe 100 people have died from violence, you know, who lived in Queensbridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lived in Queensbridge or were from Queensbridge that were still connected, right? Some people have been shot. Some people in Queensbridge have committed suicide, you know, over the years, coupled with the fact that people just dying from cancer and diabetes and high blood pressure and old age and all these other different reasons, that in Queensbridge, people of poverty, right? People, you know, a lot of people who are poor have not dealt with. You know, we deal with it by drinking, by smoking, by having sex, by laughing, but we never actually deal with how we feel. And so that compounds, right? As time goes on, people just hold it, and it comes out in random, undetermined, unwarranted ways sometimes. And so I realized that not only because people have been going through it, but also when you think about the foundation of a human, the foundation of a person, it has to start in the mind first. If your mind is not strong, if your mind is not focused on a goal, if you're not focused on progress, if you're not, you know, you're not able to be mentally strong, that leads to other things. And so to National Alliance on Mental Illness is extremely important to have those resources in a place like Queensbridge that is so diverse, that is so big, is so congested. People living on top of each other, especially now with these times, people not really being able to use the parks. You know, they took the basketball courts down, no more basketball. But people are more stressed, people are more on edge. And I'll give you a perfect example. For whatever reason, a couple of weeks ago, some people threw a bag of cornmeal out of the window and almost hit me in my head from the 5th floor. Right, from one of the 5th floor apartments, somebody threw a bag of cornmeal out the window. And I was really upset in that moment. But looking back, I know that whoever did it probably came from a place of boredom. Like, they probably don't know me personally, probably just was bored in the apartment, you know, and wanted to do something exciting, right? And what more exciting is it than to see if you can hit somebody walking by your window, right? Like, for a person in that mind space. And so, yeah, you know, it's extremely important to bring the services that NAMI provides into Queensbridge, again, just to help people process, you know, what's going on, and, you know, in their mental way, and develop mental toughness, mental stamina, to know that journey, to know that it's going to be some dark moments, but you got to remain hopeful, right? You got to remain filled with the hope and love that pushes you.
Right. Yeah, and that's such an interesting thing that you touched on. And, you know, the governor's been talking about that a lot. What New York tough is, it's not just tough. It's loving. It's being smart. It's all these other things that go into toughness. And I think, you know, a big part of that is acceptance too. You know, accept that the situation we're in is the situation we're in, but it's also up to us to make it better, right? No one's going to do it for us. We got to, together we rise, together we heal, right? So, you know, it's interesting. You talk about all the other health disparities that exist within Queensbridge. And I think this is something that people are waking up to too, that, you know, the governor is now talking about this kind of stuff, things that you've never heard him talk about before. You know, why are people from populations like Queensbridge so disproportionately impacted by coronavirus? Why are they have all these underlying health issues and you know, waking up to the needs of your community? It's kind of like too little too late in some ways, but
Yep.
you know, that awareness is there right now, I think, in a way that it's never been before. And you probably know this much better than I do, but you know, and we hope it's not just talk right now, but in this transformative moment that the people realize that communities, all of our communities need support, and there are some that are disproportionately underserved. If you know, I don't love that word, but it is what it is, and that we need to make sure that you and yours are taken better care of. So, you know, how does it make you feel when you hear that conversation shift a little bit? But what, in your opinion, can we do to make sure it's not just talk and that we can put that into action?
Well, it starts with education. You know, it literally starts with education. Like, what is the virus? How does it impact you, right? There are tons of people who get viruses every day, and they don't die, right? They don't die, you know, for many different reasons. You know, there's some people who get viruses, like we all have germs going in and out of our body all the time, and rarely do we even feel it, right? Does it affect us in any way? However, certain viruses are, you know, different, more deadly, more lethal. So in this time, when we talk about health, is mental health, right? Is you know, one of the keys, right? When you talk about defeating a virus, right, or winning in a time like this, is on a quantum level, you have to not be afraid, right? Like, don't fear, right? And someone made a post on Facebook a couple of days ago. They said, if the spotlight was on all of the people, now I don't like to compare at all, right? When in terms of, you know, there are people arguing, oh, well, you know, the flu has killed more people than COVID-19.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but not, like, I've never seen 16 people die from the flu.
Yeah.
In one neighborhood. I've never seen it in my life.
Yeah.
16 people died from Queensbridge in a 3-week period that I knew personally, right? I've never seen that with the flu. So I personally don't compare. However, someone said, if you put a spotlight on all of the people who died from suicide or all of the people who died from the flu, if there was a spotlight and they track those people every day, would that also create the same fear? Absolutely. Whenever you have a spotlight on something and you're telling it, you know, is all day is repeated, yeah, people are going to be more afraid. So I tell people, cut off the news, right? Turn off the news, right? Understand what the news is. Understand that however we feel about the people on the news, that the news in general is not about information. It's to put you in a certain mindset, right? Because there's so many other great things happening that they're not reporting. They're reporting only the deaths. They're not even talking about all the people who survived. They're not doing all of that. They're not tracking
You're
those
talking
stories.
about people like you who are handing out masks in your community and who are giving back.
That's not their role, right? The news is notable events, weather, and sports, right? And to them, the most notable thing is death, because if you put people in a state of fear, you can control people, right? But anyway, going back to encourage people to not be afraid. Also, like, hold people accountable, like, yo, listen, y'all gotta eat better. Like, we gotta take better care of ourselves. Like, we eating trash, like, we not exercising, and we think like, just because the doctor didn't diagnose you, you know if you're overweight, right? You know that if you're not doing the things to keep your blood flowing properly or to bring, you know, proper energy into your body to cultivate your chi and all of that stuff, if you're not doing that, you know you're at risk for everything. And so in this time, like, people are realizing that, like, damn, like, yeah, COVID, but like heart disease, right? Like high blood pressure, right? Like, all of this stuff are contributing factors, a major contributing factor, right? To why your body is not able to fight off this virus. Your immune system is weak. So there's a lot of people who are learning, right? Unfortunately, because of the deaths. And there are a lot of people who already know the information who are now spreading it on a wider level. So again, ultimately, is inspiring more than anything. It's painful, it's hurtful, right? That people are losing their lives, that people are afraid. That doesn't feel good. Like yesterday, to see the fear in so many faces, it doesn't feel good. However, I know that sometimes you got to go through being uncomfortable. You got to go through not feeling good to get to a better spot. And that's what we're trying to focus on. How do we get to a better spot in life?
Yeah, and that's really the work that we do here at NAMI, and I know we're going to partner with you to make sure we're doing that in Queensbridge. One more thing before I let you go, because I know this is so important, so you're working so hard on this too, is the importance of 3 things that people can do right now that you do every day. Well, more or less do every day, but tell your story, right? Make sure you're being represented. You got to tell your story. Right now the census is going on. You gotta make sure you fill out the census. People gotta know you're there and that your community is there and needs support. You gotta register to vote and vote. I mean, these are three things I know you talk about all the time. So why is that especially important in your community?
Well, as far as, what's the first thing you said?
Tell your story.
Tell your story. I mean, telling your story, to tell your story in itself is healing personally, but that's how you connect with others, right? When you tell your story, you realize that you're not alone in your story, whatever, whether it's pain, grief, sadness, heartache, disappointment, frustration, whatever it is, you're not alone. So in telling your story, you get to connect with others and find solutions, right? Find solutions to the common problem, to the common struggle, right? The census, man, 2 years ago, I would have never really participated in the census because I didn't. I kind of knew what it was, but I wasn't fully abreast on how important it was. And we talk about like right now, right, like literally as we speak on this Sunday, April 26th, and people are sick and people are hurt and people are home, and the census directly is government funding. It funds every aspect of life, right, from healthcare to education to extracurricular activities to parks to housing. So if your community, for example, if in Queensbridge is about, let's say, 10,000 people, but if only 3,000 people fill out the census, right, or 3,000 names are counted in the census from Queensbridge, that means they only have resources. So that means in a time of tragedy, there are only resources for 3,000 people, where it's 10,000 people who need it, right? So it's about having an accurate count of everyone in the neighborhood so that the resources are properly allotted, right? So everyone is accounted for, so that the children have adequate services, let's say daycare, let's say, educational activities for youth, senior programs, work-related programs, business development programs, all of those different things, right? Obviously part of the biggest issue in Queensbridge is the lack of repairs in our housing, right? That's a major issue. Part of that is directly related to the lack of funding from the government, right? HUD is saying they don't have the money to fix the apartment. So whether it's accurate or not, right? Whether it's a separate plot or not, the fact is that if we would have been counted for in 2010, there will be more funding for us now to get these repairs done. At least some of them in some capacity. And also voting. My son is 7 years old, right? And he's doing his his homeschooling, and he's been homeschooling before this thing. So my children hasn't really seen a change with COVID-19, other than not being able to go outside like that and not being able to see family and friends as often as normal. But he's been homeschooling, and one thing that he's doing at homeschool right now with social studies, he's learning about like cities, countries, states and stuff like that. And the other day he was doing a lesson on why voting is important. And it's funny because at 7 years old, he made the realization that when, let's say, we're at home and we're picking out a movie, right? Him and his sister might want a different movie, so they're voting, right? He said voting is important to come to a decision. And it is. And so that's why voting is so important. However, I am never going to be the person to encourage people to vote for anyone who you feel does not have your interests at heart. Don't vote blindly. Don't vote just because everyone says it. And particularly in places like Queensbridge and other, and all over, and maybe your community up there does it. We need to start voting in blocks, understanding that it's not an individual vote necessarily that matters, is what is your collective vote? What does your community collectively want? Because in Queensbridge, if it's 10,000 people and people are voting for different people for whatever personal reason, if there's no collective vote, our needs as a whole does not get met still. So voting
to that point, just to dig down on something too, again, when a politician, a leader, a government official sees that there's 10,000 people registered to vote in Queensbridge, they're going to take the concerns of Queensbridge a lot more seriously than if there were 2,000 people registered to vote. So again, the fact that just that you're registered gives you that voice, and the politicians, there are ones that care. I don't want to paint, a totally negative picture, but more than anything, they want votes, and they're going to go where the votes are and listen to where the votes are. And that's why it's so important, like you said, it's a collective. And just that simple thing of registering to vote gives you more power than you realize you have, right?
Definitely.
So before I let you go, unfortunately running out of time. I could do a whole week of shows with Suga Ray. So, it's an amazing thing. I'm going to bring one more picture up because, this is you at our education conference, lighting it up. I mean, I think for a lot of people there, you were their introduction to your community and the first voice that they heard from your community. It was such a powerful voice, and you raised that room. I mean, the energy when you gave that talk about hope was just remarkable. So, before I let you go, I just can't let you leave without talking about the power of hope, why it's so important to you, why it's so important to your community, and why it should be so important to our viewers.
Man, I mean, hope, we hear three things, I think across the various schools of thought, across the various religions, there are three principles that are prevalent in all. It's faith, hope, and love, right? And, we all say faith is the mustard seed, and with faith, you could do anything. I will say in just my own personal life, like analyzing my own life and then studying these words and concepts and looking at the lives around me, is that faith is great, but faith is nothing without hope, because it is hope that gives you something to have faith in, right? Like, what do you hope to happen in the future? What do you hope the outcome to be in this situation? And then you have faith in that. You believe without a shadow of doubt that as long as you do the work, as long as you pray, meditate, as long as you put out the positive vibrations, right, that what you hope for will come to pass. So hope is the foundation of life itself, right? For me, like as far as human life and progression and optimism, you have to have something to hope for, something that you are looking forward to. And have hope in yourself and know that everything that's happening, like regardless to what, your dreams can still manifest, a better world is still possible. You have to have hope, like it's an acronym, hope, helping other people excel or elevate, right? And not only other people, is helping ourselves properly excel or properly elevate, right? So it's for self to have hope, for you to properly excel and elevate, but also to help others, properly elevate, or to help other people excel. And so again, hope is the foundation, man. Without hope, faith is nothing. And obviously is driven by love, to have the love and the desire. But then it's hope, man. And so as someone once said, man, and I don't even like bringing this person's name up again for different reasons, man, but keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive. No, it's true, and it's so important. And what a perfect way to end it. I mean, it's one thing to have hope, but to be a beacon of hope is a whole nother thing. Like you say, you're not just you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk, and you're a beacon of hope for your community. You've become a beacon of hope to our community, and we're becoming one community, because you said it best. Together we rise, and once we rise, together we heal, and it can only be together. And Suga Ray, we're so lucky to have you as a part of our family, and we're looking forward to becoming a bigger part of the Queensbridge community. So together we can heal, and together we rise. And it starts with you, brother. So thank you so much for being you. Thank you for instilling your wisdom on us today. Thank you for instilling hope every day of your life. That's what you're all about, instilling hope, and God knows the world needs it right now, and we're lucky to have you. So thank you so much, Suga Ray. Thank you for watching. Remember, please stay connected, stay supported, stay inspired, and stay hopeful. Be the hope in your community right now. We know hope is needed so much, and again, reach out to people, check on people, be their hope. That one person can make a difference. And we say it at NAMI all the time, Suga Ray, hope starts with you.
Yes,
you're the epitome of that, and our viewers can be the epitome of that too. So I hope they take it away from this episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Perspectives. Thank you.
Peace.